Hey, NFL fans, Harrison Graham here with Chat Sports, and we're closing in on a pretty big milestone on YouTube. That would be 250,000 subscribers. We are less than 2,500 subs away. For those of you who have subscribed, round of applause to you. We couldn't do what we do without your support. If you love the NFL and if maybe you're stumbling across this channel for the first time, I encourage you to hit that big red button and subscribe. Daily videos, NFL news, rumors, trade rumors. We'll get into some trade stuff in just a second. Help us out. Let's get to 250,000 subscribers as soon as possible. You're watching NFL Daily here on Chat Sports. I'm your host, Harrison Graham. Today's show, 5 post-June 1st trade candidates. I do think the NFL offseason will start to ramp up again once June 1st gets there because a lot of players can either be cut or traded and with less of a penalty after June 1st. So I got 5 guys that I do think could be on the move. Let's start with a couple obvious ones, right? Number 1, Julio Jones. Julio Jones is going to get traded. I don't think there's really any doubt about that. He hopped on Undisputed, whether he knew it or not, earlier this past week with Shannon Sharpe and Skip Bayless and said, "I'm out of there," referring to the Falcons. And he also has officially requested a trade, apparently. So seems like Jones and even the Falcons are motivated to find a trade for the veteran elite wide receiver as the rumors continue to swirl. Now, the key after June 1st is Atlanta can actually save over $15 million against the cap if they do trade him after June 1st. So you look at Julio here and you're thinking, okay, like last year obviously had some injuries. Injuries have started to pile up for him here, but I still think this is one of the premier NFL wide receivers. When he's fully healthy, we saw we did in 2019, he's still at least a top 10 receiver. Maybe he's not top 5 anymore, but he's still very good, and the NFL thinks he is as well if this report is true. There's a report out there that says a team has offered the Falcons a first-round pick. If I'm Atlanta, that's a no-brainer. You get a first-round pick for an aging wide receiver who is still very good but has had some injuries in recent years. I think that makes a lot of sense if you're the Falcons. I think a lot of teams have and will show some interest, and if it's true that they can get a first-round pick for him, I don't think there's really much of any doubt that he will end up getting trading following June 1st. Now, what do you guys think? I still think he is. But do you? Do you think Julio Jones is still an elite wide receiver? Type Y for yes, type N for no. Get your votes in on this one. I'm going to type my Y for yes, but not everyone agrees. Get your votes in. Another obvious one, Aaron Rodgers. The Aaron Rodgers trade drama continues in Green Bay. He clearly wants out. He made that pretty clear when he hopped on SportsCenter with Kenny Mayne this past week. He also wasn't at OTAs as he's hanging out with his fiance and Miles Teller in Hawaii, just living his best life. Now, Green Bay can actually sort of benefit by trading him after June 1st from a salary standpoint. It can save him about $16 million if they trade him after June 1st. So obviously a trade wasn't going to happen until then. Now for teams trading for him, this is kind of what it would look like. If you took him on this year, about $22 million. Pretty good for a franchise elite quarterback, right? That's below market value. $25 million in 2022. 25 in 2023 as well. An average of $24 million over the next 3 years is pretty good for the reigning MVP. This is a top 3 NFL quarterback at worst, any way you slice it. And it's a shame it's gotten to this point with Rodgers and Green Bay, but I just think that there's a better than 50% chance that he is going to get dealt. He seems like someone who's content with not returning to the Green Bay Packers. Even if they call his bluff, I don't think he's going to show up this year. I think he will skip training camp. I think he'll skip some games as well, if not the entire season. So trading him might be the best route for Green Bay. Now, who gets traded first between these two guys? Type JJ for Julio Jones. Type AR for Aaron Rodgers. I think Julio gets traded first, especially if they have a first-round pick on the table, which has been reported. I'll type my JJ, but maybe you think it's Aaron Rodgers. Get your votes in, Julio or Aaron. All right, next up, another quarterback. How about Nick Foles? And a report surfaced a couple of weeks ago that the Bears had shopped him earlier this offseason and simply could not find a trade partner for the veteran quarterback. And look, from Chicago's standpoint, it makes sense, right? You've signed Andy Dalton to $10 million for the upcoming season. You've drafted Justin Fields, who's the future of the franchise. If the Bears can find a trade partner after June 1st, they can save $4 million by trading him to another team. Now, Foles is not the Super Bowl winning quarterback we saw a few years ago. I think that's pretty clear that was an aberration with Philadelphia, but I think he's a serviceable backup. He was okay for the Bears last year when he was in there playing before they went back to Mitchell Trubisky. The offensive line was playing pretty bad, so I think the numbers would have been a little bit better behind a better offensive line. But again, you look at the depth chart, Dalton's probably going to be the week 1 starter in Chicago until Justin Fields is ready. You don't need Nick Foles if you're the Bears. Up to this point, they haven't been able to trade for him, but if an injury pops up across the league, if a team wants to add a veteran presence to their quarterback room, I think the New York Jets make a lot of sense. They don't really have a proven backup behind Zach Wilson. Nick Foles could be that type of player for one of those teams. Get subscribed to Chat Sports. I want to remind you guys we're closing in on 250,000 subscribers. Hey, we appreciate everybody who has already subscribed to this channel. Try to hit that big milestone. That link is in the comments. It's in the description. But just hit the big red button and subscribe so you never, ever miss a video. Let's go to a couple of defensive players now. C.J. Mosley, the linebacker for the New York Jets. He has not worked out very well for the Jets. He's played in 2 games in 2 seasons. Had a major injury after that big contract he signed in 2019, and then in 2020 he opted out due to COVID. So he got 5 years and $85 million, and he's played in 2 games in 2 years. Not great whatsoever. And now, look, the Jets are going to lose out overall on this contract. They already have, but they can save $4.5 million if they want to ship him out after June 1st, which at this point seems like that's probably your best option, right? See if you can find a trade partner for him because it's been a disaster. There's no way around it. They overpaid to begin with. I know Mosley was great with the Ravens, but off-ball linebackers, $17 million a year. Yikes, that is not very good. It's a shame because he played really well with Baltimore the last time we saw him in 2018. I know he played 2 games in 2019, but not nearly enough of a sample size to see what could have been with him and the Jets. And look, maybe they end up keeping him. Maybe they can't find a trade partner, but I do think there's a distinct possibility that he does get dealt to another team. Once June 1st hits, that becomes a way bigger possibility than it currently is. C.J. Mosley could be on the move after June 1st. And then Trey Flowers, last guy here, defensive end for the Lions, dealt with some injuries last year, played in just 7 games, but still productive. My only issue is I think he's better served as a pass rushing option for a contending type of team. The Lions aren't contending. They're rebuilding. So if I'm Detroit, I'm shopping him, especially considering you save over $14 million if you trade him after June 1st. That's pretty nice cap relief for a young and rebuilding team like Detroit. He doesn't fit into what Detroit's trying to do moving forward, which is rebuilding for the future. Last year, only played in 7 games, had 2 sacks, 22 tackles, a couple of forced fumbles. I think over a 16-game sample size, this is still a 6 to 8 sack per year type of guy, especially on a good defensive team. So a team that could use a pass rusher, I actually think someone like Kansas City could make some sense if they can make the money work. They could use a defensive end opposite of Frank Clark. We'll see what happens with Flowers. I don't think Detroit keeping him makes sense. Sure, he's still young, but he's not really part of the rebuilding timeline in Detroit. So those are 5 players that come to mind for me. Name a player that you would like to see your team play. It could be any player in the league. Don't be ridiculous, though, and say Patrick Mahomes. He's not getting traded. Name a player you want your team to trade for. Reminder, subscribe, 250K. We're almost there. We'll see you very, very soon.